everyone, welcome to our lesson on conditional probability, permutations, and combinations. We're going to take a look at these formulas before we start for these items. So when you come across the term permutation, that is going to be in situations where order matters. It's going to be your arrangements of items out of a group, and you're going to use this formula here. NPR is equal to n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. Most calculators will have these commands that you can access, and you'll just need to input your n and your r, and it will sort of do this math for you. But I'm going to work these out for you by hand so you can see what your calculator's doing. When you come across the combinations examples in your problems, that is where the order doesn't matter. You're choosing items out of a group, and you're going to use this formula here. NCR is equal to n factorial divided by r factorial times n minus r factorial. So you're just putting in your n and your r. Your n is your total, and your r is the amount you're choosing or arranging. Okay, and I've got that as a reminder here at the top. N ways to choose. R is the amount we're choosing. And note, I mentioned factorial when I was talking about the formulas, and what that command means is we're going to take that number and multiply by each number descending down from that number until we get down to 1. Okay, so let's take a look at a combination example where we are choosing items from a group. Suppose your teacher is going to choose 3 students to attend a field trip to a theme park, and there are 25 people in your class. How many different ways could this happen? In other words, how many different combinations of 3 people are there? So we notice that arrangements don't matter here, so we're going to go to our combinations formula for this, and we're going to work this out. So we have 25 people in our class, and we are choosing 3. So I'm going to fill this in as my n and 3 in as my r. So remember that formula was your n divided by r factorial times n minus r factorial. So I've got my n factorial divided by r factorial and n minus r. So I need to take 25 minus 3 factorial. Okay? So the factorial, I'm going to be taking 25 here at the top times 24. I'll sort of list it out. Times 23, times 22, times 21, and so forth. I'm not going to write it all, but you get the idea. Okay? And on the bottom, I've got to do the same thing with each of these numbers. I've got to take 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? And then 22 times 21 times 20. And so on. And continue. Now I can shorten my load a little bit here because I can see that there's some overlap. In the numerator, I get to a point where it's at 22 times 21 times 20, 19, 18. It's going to continue down to 1. So that part I can cancel out with this part here in the denominator, because each of those numbers are going to be the same top to bottom there. So those I can kind of just wipe out. So really what I'm dealing with is not that bad. It's 25 times 24 times 23 left in my numerator, divided by 3 times 2 times 1, which gives me 6. So not too bad. So when we type that in, you can try it along with me. Just make sure you arrive at the same answer here. And I like to do my numerator and denominator separately, just to make sure that my calculator's keeping it all straight. Don't give it too much to handle at once. Alright. So that was a combination example, so now let's take a look at a permutation example. So now suppose your teacher is going to arrange 5 of you guys for a picture in the newspaper. How many arrangements of 5 people in your class are possible? So when you see that word arrangement, you're going to go to your permutation formula. Just slightly different one we looked at on the first slide. And let's recall that formula. NPR is going to be n factorial divided by, it's a little bit shorter, n minus r factorial. Okay. Our n, we have 25 students. Our amount that we're arranging is 5. So n 25, r 5. So I just need to insert those here. So 25 again over, I'm just going to go ahead and take 25 minus 5 for the bottom, for the denominator. And remember that when you're dealing with this factorial command, it's going to take 25 times 24 times 23 times 22 and so on down to 1. So if you think about it, I'm going to come upon a point where I get to 20. I will show you here. And so forth. And that is going to match up with the denominator, because the denominator is starting at 20 times 19 times 18, so on. So all of that can be done away with because it's going to cancel there. So really all I'm dealing with is 25 by 24 by 23 times 22 times 21. Try it with me. It is going to be a large number. Type that in. And you should come out with this number here. 6,375,600. So that was our permutation example. That concludes our lesson on conditional probability, permutations, and combinations.